Good morning.
Yeah.
Your band is in sad shape today. We got two out sick, and I have no voice, so y'all sing loud today. Yeah, just come on over. All right, here we go. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Good job. Today is a new day, new day, new day. And I just feel new day, new day. It's gonna be good, gonna be good, gonna be good. 'Cause everything is good today. Today's been so great, so great, so great. And I just take it my way, my way, my way. It's gonna be good, gonna be good, gonna be good. Everything is good today.
Good morning. Yay, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in the heart of Las Cruces. To all of you who are present, to all of you online. And I want to thank Amarina, that is Marilyn and Randy's daughter, who's covering for Randy today. Thank you, Amarina, we appreciate you. And we certainly appreciate all that your family, all of you do. Thank you so much. So, I want to welcome anyone who's here for the first time. I think we're all people familiar with this space. Please make sure your phones are on vibrate or silent, and or whatever, airplane mode. We've moved our board meeting until today at 1 o'clock via Zoom. See Bob if you'd like an invite. We can send it to you. We are still doing our work, and our new member orientation will be moved to next week after the service. We have some people interested, but we're out of town this week. So, at this time, please welcome our practitioner in service.
Good morning, everybody. Dumbo ears here. My name is Teresa Valenzuela, and I am a practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living. We believe in the power of prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer. Please fill out a prayer request, which can be found in the pockets in the back of each chair, and you can drop it in the offering plate on your way out, or there's even a God can over there waiting for your requests. We pray with you each Tuesday afternoon. We have a prayer team made up of practitioners and other New Thought ministers from the 4 local New Thought communities. And in addition, after service, if you'd like a quick spiritual mind treatment session, those practitioners that are wearing stoles will be available up here in front to help pray with you as well. And also, I'd like to really encourage you to also fill out a gratitude card. They're also in the back of the chairs. We'd love to hear what you are grateful for, or how prayer has been answered in your life. Now it is time for song, silence, and prayer.
Free. In this moment, I am free. Free.
So stepping into that space of gratitude, of knowing that I am in exactly the right place at the right time. We just breathe in that vitality and energy, that life force that is all around us, that is within us. And we bring to mind the knowingness, that faith, that love, the creative, divine mind, Spirit, God, lives through us with each breath that we take in, and every exhalation. And so, knowing that we are already complete, that we are already kindness and compassion, joy, and abundant in every area of our life, we're just ready for this morning to listen to Peggy's wonderful words of wisdom. To know that every day, every moment of our life, can be lived in awe and wonderment. So just go, so grateful, so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Releasing these words, knowing it's in perfect unfoldment, and so it is. So the reading today is out of the book 365 Science of Mind Days by Ernest Holmes, and I took it off my bookshelf again on January 1st, and I like to see what wisdom he has for us today. Good is forever my experience. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Luke 15:31. Realizing that we are in the midst of an ever-present good, and believing there is a law that brings everything of its nature into our lives, we should learn to think and act as though every wrong condition of yesterday were converted into something new and better today. I believe that all the mistakes I've ever made are swallowed up in a love, in a peace, and in a life greater than I am. Therefore, I surrender all past mistakes into the keeping of this ever-present and perfect life. I affirm that love is guiding me into a real and deep cooperation with life and into a sincere affection for everyone. Today is a fresh beginning, a new start, a joyous adventure on the pathway of eternal progress. Today is bright with hope and happy with fulfillment. Therefore, I affirm that this is the day that God has made, and this is in every word that I say. Good makes everything in my life simple, effective, and whole. The action of wisdom through me arranges every circumstance so that success and happiness will come from it. I express the spirit within so that only love and confidence go out to everyone I meet, blessing everything I touch, and bringing peace and comfort and joy to my world. In every thought, in every deed, in every act, I am sustained by an infinite power and guided gently into an increasing good for myself and for others. And so it is.
actually a current composer. His name's Timothy Brown.
Timothy Brown, cool. Is he related to you? Yeah, that was very perky. Thank you so much. Well, today we have one of our favorites back to speak with us, Peggy Shinn, who is a licensed practitioner of religious science and has been at the Lake Chapala Center for Spiritual Living since 2017. And we all love going to Lake Chapala when we have the opportunity. The center is located in Ajijic, Jalisco, Mexico. When in residence there, she helps manage the center, teaches classes in both Spanish and English. She serves as the team leader of the organizers team for the Convention of the Americas, a bilingual Science of Mind conference presented by the Chapala Center in partnership with the CSL International School of Spanish Leadership. That has been held annually in Chapala since 2014. So please help me welcome Peggy Shinn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am in awe of being here. It's when I think back at the journey that has been for me to be standing here before you today, speaking to this group. It's been, as Teresa's reading said, a joyous adventure most of the time. But it definitely is one of the miracles of my life. That Science of Mind has been in me and it since 1992. So I'm thrilled to be here in wonder and awe of it all. So the title of my talk for today was moving from ah to ah. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I see the pathway of moving from one to the other in the process of that joyous adventure that we call our lives. So I'm pretty accustomed myself to falling into the trap in the last year and a half or so, and I don't imagine I'm the only one in this room that's there with me, considering this awesome virus that we're dealing with that is incredibly infectious, that we are finding ourselves in a mystery about and how to move through it. I remember when we were first starting the lockdown, and Teresa mentioned to me this morning that she's following Reverend Dr. Edward Philhume's 365 days, each day the little thing with him, but she's also reading this book that she read to us for today's reading. And Dr. Edward Philhume gave a little bit of a talk at the beginning of the whole lockdown and about the Science of Mind perspective about all of it, and he called it the Karuna Virus. And I don't know how many of you are aware of the meaning of the word Karuna, but I adopted that term right away. Karuna is a Hindu term for compassion. And I invite you to think about infecting everyone with the Karuna virus is what we're really doing. That there's more compassion, I believe, in the world now than there was before it started. And there's certainly more depth of understanding, emotion, a lot of things going on. But for many of us, including me, as I was referring to a minute ago, it's been a certain amount of which kind of then turns into what I call awfulizing. You know, we start to see our entire life through that filter, that perspective of the, oh, I don't want this isn't my idea, I didn't want to have this happen, I'm not happy to see my friends die, you know, all of the things that many of us have observed and been through. And there's not a single person, I don't care if you're in the Swahili tribe in the desert in Africa, there's not a single person on the planet that hasn't lost something by having to have given up the life that they had before, or losing some privilege, or losing some person. So it's very easy to fall into that entrapment of the awfulizing. And what I want to talk about today is not what we call the spiritual bypass, where because we're so enlightened, we have the awareness that we're doing it. you know, that we're dropping down into that frequency. And we believe that we shouldn't be there. We should lift ourselves up, and we should bring that frequency up higher. We should elevate and inspire, and not be in that dumps. Well, I'm not here to talk about how to move from ah to ah by just jumping over into the next level of it's all okay, it's all good, it's all fine. Because we don't want to bypass our own emotions and our own humanity and our own feelings and our own sense of loss. And I want us to take a little bit of time to be even in awe of that we have so much that we've experienced collectively and individually to be in awe of, in spite of the initial sort of default reaction that I have, and I'm sure many of you do too, that ain't it awful? Just ain't it awful? But we want to get to the AWE, if you will, the full of awe, rather than the awful, right? And how do we do that? I don't think the spiritual bypass is the answer, because when we don't sit with our emotion and our feeling, and instead we sit on it, you know, we're trying to repress, suppress, depress the feeling because we don't want to have it, first of all, and we don't want to just let other people think that we've lost our faith or something. You know, as Teresa was talking in reading in the reading, that's about that faith in knowingness is what is more challenging for me, and maybe for some of you too, to sustain in this whole time that we've been living with the Karuna Virus. So there is this minister that was not exactly the founding minister here, but certainly the first minister that was my minister, Reverend Candace Smith Frank, in the 90s when I first came in the door here. And I don't think we really had that spiritual bypass term in the vernacular then so much. But I do remember very well what she said we were doing when we were doing that. We're putting that pretty icing on the shit cake. And if that term resonates for you and sticks with you, you're welcome to have it, and I'll give credit to Candy for that. But I think of that always, that what am I doing here? You know, just putting the frosting on the, covering up the shit cake. So when we sit on our emotions and we don't sit with them and process them in some fashion, we're liable to be finding ourselves in the next opportunity to have that emotion or that feeling. Only now it's maybe going to be double down on us. The lessons are always going to be there, waiting for us to be ready for them. And what I've discovered in my life is I didn't take the first opportunity or the second or the third, I get that cosmic 2x4. And it's been a lesson in my life of since I came to Science of Mind and the 12-step programs of retraining my brain, you know, retraining my mind to say, okay, listen up, pay attention, get curious, ask about this, or it'll be around again if you don't deal with this time. So I totally encourage us to, you know, to sit on that, sit with that idea rather than sit on it. That it's a process, and it's not an immediate elevation to the next frequency for most of us. But I totally believe in what Abraham, Esther Hicks teaches, which is that you get to the next little bit level of higher frequency that you can get to. And you move through that, or as Reverend Sandy used to teach us, you stay where you are until you're elevated effortlessly. Then you know you've brought yourself to the level where you actually are there, not that you are grasping at it or faking it till you make it. It takes a little bit, but all of that is up to us to choose. We have to decide when, how, and if. Or, like me, wait for the cosmic 2x4 to get it. But I suggest that if we become aware of our perception that we're in that space, that we're in that lower vibration, that lower frequency, and we're awfulizing our world and awfulizing our lives, that we have some other options. And it probably starts with looking at the likelihood that we've shut down our connection to source. We've lost that opportunity to see more than this awful, ain't it awful, I'm the victim, they're the victim, oh poor me, oh poor them, whatever. That's the blinders that I see myself putting on sometimes. So that we say that we want to be living in awe and in wonder, I mean that that's a total life approach. It's not just like shutting off and not allowing, but we have to start with that connection to source in order to see that awe again in what we perceive to be the good, the true, and the beautiful is where we usually find ourselves easily being able to be in awe. But when we are faced with other things that we don't consider to be helpful or our idea or beneficial to mankind or beneficial to the planet, because it's our perception, our judgment, it's a little more difficult to be in awe of that. And that's why I said, I am in awe of the virus. When I heard Mary Lynn say, you know, got a couple in my family that are sick, and I'm here with a scratchy throat, and you guys are gonna have to sing loud. And I'm thinking about, look at how this transmits, you know, the awesomeness of this little virus thing that has to have God in it too. Do we believe that God is in all and all is in God? And I choose to believe that the Omicron variant is what's coming around because that virus is trying to find a way to live. Because it made some mistakes in the beginning, killing off its host. And now there's been one variant that's come around that is more infectious, but is not so lethal. So the virus gets to live too, at some level, that it wasn't living maybe previously. Pretty hard to take that in to a degree when the awesomeness of it is just the awfulness of it to us. Right? So to get to the place of how do we have this awe and appreciation for everything in our world is definitely challenging, and I'm the first to be here to admit it. But instead of awfulizing, excuse me, I suggest that we consider mythologizing our lives. Otherwise, we end up pathologizing. And I think you know what I mean if you've studied the body-mind connection and science of mind, that our feelings, our emotions, everything that gets stuffed in there and maybe trapped in there is a part of what shows up in our biology. That we're lowering our frequency, maybe exposing ourselves even more dangerously to the virus. Hard to say. But mythologizing instead of pathologizing is what I suggest to you today. That you understand that it shows up in your physical body, and that's another motivation for shifting gears on it. So in the myth, you know, this is Joseph Campbell's archetypal mythology of the hero's journey. That is the joyous adventure of our lives that Teresa read to us about. We are the hero or the heroine of our own hero's journey, you know, on the quest. What are we doing if we're allowing ourselves to be at the affect of all the awfulizing and the victimizing? I mean, we're certainly changing our mythology. But I submit to you that the only person who's got the pen in the hand and writing the story of your life is you. We're all in charge at some level of what we are doing in that myth of the hero's journey. And if we are writing the story that ain't it awful, and I'm the victim, or they're the victim, or, you know, fill in the blank. The Republicans are the victims, the Democrats are the victims, you know, whatever all of this is that we're telling ourselves, we're not sitting in an awe and wonder kind of position. We're not allowing the mystery to come in. You know, with all the loving kindness we can muster, with all the karuna we can bring to it. The concept of the first way, you know, back from the tradition as long as I've been in science of mind, and Reverend Bonnie mentioned this to you all last time she spoke on the 2nd of January, That the traditional thing has been that we go through the first 4 components of the introduction to the Science of Mind text. And that this year, they're offering up other things for us to consider to do. But I felt like, hey, well, you know, I still kind of want to throw something in there if I can from the text. So this is the 3rd week of the 3rd, Sunday for speaking in January in the Science of Mind world. And so the first 4 components are the thing itself, how it works, what it does, and how to use it. This is the 3rd week, which is the what it does. So I'm going to take a look at the text and see if there's anything in there that kind of aligns with what I want to suggest to you as the methodology for moving from ah to ah. And sure enough, there's something in here that I feel like Ernest has that is speaking to us. And what I wanted to talk about, the nature of awe. And he says that this is the riddle of simplicity. That we have made a riddle out of simplicity. We have made a riddle out of simplicity. In other words, this mystery that I'm talking about, Reverend Bonnie gave you the definitions in her first talk about awe, and the fact that there is in the dictionary a word that they've chosen to include in this concept of awe that includes fear. And I would like to submit to you that for me, I want to change that concept of the sense of fear to the concept of the sense of mystery. The mystery is what we are dealing with here in the mythological journey and in our lives and in everything that we see that we are in awe of. The fear is the mystery because it is the unknown, it's the invisible, it's the unseeable, it's the unknowable. And that sets up fear in how we're wired, as human beings. We're wired to want to know what's next, to want to know whether we're in danger or not, to want to know what this is, Imagine not having some of the scientific knowledge that we have, what kind of level of fear we might be in from time to time over some of the things that show up in our lives as the unknowable and the unseeable. What we see right now is the changes in nature and the weather, that's pretty obvious that something's going on there. So he says to return to a sane simplicity is one of the first and most important things to do. All men receive some light, but this light always came from the same source. The direct approach is always the best and the most effective. And here's where he's saying something that fits with what I want to talk to you about today, too. Let us do away with the ponderosity, is his word, of thought and approach, that they simply and quietly. It is the nature of the universe to give us all that we are able to take, and it cannot give us any more. It's already given all. It's just up to us to receive, to acknowledge it, to receive it. Spiritual wisdom says that God manifests through everything and is incarnated in all men, that all is divinity, and the nature herself is the body of God. The mechanical laws of nature are set and immutable, but the spontaneous recognition of these laws gives us the power to bring them into practical use in our everyday life and experience our everyday awe. So when the indigenous peoples that still around today that teach us what their ways were in the past, they were in awe of nature, the body of God, the part that we see today by looking at our cell phone to see what the weather is going to be or whatever. I don't know about you all, but I kind of miss it. I had a friend who once said it's hard to be crazy next to dirt. He says just get out by the dirt, get out into nature, and everything will resolve itself for you. And I do think that there's truth to that. So the indigenous peoples would look at all of these unknowable, unseeable, inexplicable, or to use Ernest Holmes' terms, ineffable things, and be in awe in that sense of fear and mystery, and create for themselves individual component gods that were related to these various natural, earth, wind, fire, water, all of that. They would try to live in harmony with those and try to figure out, what would be the way through the mystery. and that sense of fear being eliminated, and cultivating the sense of mystery to learn how to live in companionship and collective compatibility with these forces of the unseen, the unknown, and the unknowable. So the mystery, to me, is the awe in the wonder, and what these indigenous peoples had to show us about how they lived with what was far, far less knowable than what we have today. So today, we have all this science and machines and every way in the world to try to figure out what's really going on, to penetrate that unknowable, to get through, to see the unseen. And we've lost a little bit, I think, in this process of our ability, like the indigenous people, to just stand in front of the full moon and say, what is that all about? This is the curiosity that I was going to talk about, that Reverend Bonnie also talked to you about, with the orange that she brought to you all. So modern science just chooses to try to explain everything away, to tell us all what's cause and effect, and it kind of has separated us from those things that we were, as indigenous folks, not living in that knowledge, but living in the wisdom of what Teresa read to us about, of the faith and the knowingness that it's all good all the time, because it's all God. I mean, that's kind of what I got from her reading. But we've had nothing left of the imagination to some degree by the scientists and all of the explanations of how everything works, even down to the, all the news now is all Corona all the time, telling you all the scientists and all the reports, and it's just ad nauseum. And we've forgotten how to be innocent, how to be open at the top, as Ernest says, open at the top, to allow something new to come in, to be expectant within that mystery. Ernest talks to us about expectancy, not being attached to expectation, but to having always that open and enthusiastic acceptance and embracing of life as it lives itself through us. And so the thing that I want to talk to you about in relationship to moving through the mystery and how to get to how to leave the fear and the to get into that mystery is to recognize that our admonition from Jesus maybe is something to take into consideration, that lest we be like little children, lest we accept that opportunity to be innocent and expectant, and to simplify the riddle, as Ernest's reading talked about. It will be more difficult to get out of the awe and the awfulizing into the But when we sit with that curiosity, instead of criticism, instead of the judgment, because we've been kind of, and I think in our culture for sure, we've been taught over the years that, we have all the answers, or we can get all the answers, or everything is knowable, and we'll either know it all or we should know it all, which obviously, eliminates a lot of the imagination and the mystery. So the curiosity part about it is needing to come back into our frame of reference rather than the judgment. Well, it's just that, or we'll know later what that was, and lose a lot of that enthusiasm for the learning, for the constant learning that life is. So what I suggest to you is, when you're in that awfulizing state, don't be asking yourself, why did this happen? What is this all about? Why me? Poor me. And instead, try to identify the what. What is this happening for? What is this leading me to? What is this showing me? What is the lesson in this? And get off of the why, which maybe is only answered in the scientific world anyway, and get curious about the what. And a possibility exists that you might move in that state of curiosity and investigation and discovery from the to the aha. The penny falls. You get a new insight into something. You recognize something from the past that needs to be healed. There's a revelation of some sort that brings you to another state that gets you closer through the aha to the awe, A-W-E. So my goal is to go from the ah through the aha to the awe. And that's the simplest path, I think, for me and for others as well. That we're now able to move through that mystery, that unknowingness of the unseen and the unknown and the invisible world, which 90% of our world is invisible. You know, we think this is visible, but there's a lot of invisible activity going on in this life. There are all the little things in there going on that we can't see, we can't know, we can't understand, and we need to accept it. And I believe that for me, the path from the aha is bringing me to the recognition of the awe in the knowingness that God is all there is and all there is God. That's what I think Ernest was talking about in the reading. That's what, just coincidentally, this would be Teresa's words. You did not hear she had to leave for another appointment. But Teresa, instead of using the word coincident, says coinkydink. So coincidentally, you know, as God would have it, her reading also talked about how everything is God, all is God, and God is in all. And that is the way Ernest defines mysticism. That we are all mystics if we are choosing to see God in it all and to see God all, and see all in God. That we are mystics. Because that to him is what the mystic is. It's not some guru sitting in the cave over in the Himalayas. That's the mystic. We are all mystics if we choose that connection to source that he's talking about in the book here. So to paraphrase, you know, Holmes and what I read and what Teresa read, it's the mystic is one who sees God in all and sees all in God. And if we allow that to what's moving through our lives, we can move more quickly from the ah to the aha to the awe. When we get that curiosity instead of criticism into our approach to something. So I invite you to consider, along with me, to follow this simple path of moving into the mystic, into the mythology, into the mystery, and into the mystic, so that the answer to the mystery is God. It doesn't matter what the question is. The answer is always God, because it's all God. So whenever we arrive at that place where we can see that, in the past, all the, what was she read today in the reading, that all the mistakes are swallowed up. All the mistakes in the past are swallowed up in the good of today. So where we can see that God was in everything in the past, in the present, and in our great yet to be, and the yet to be all. I think then we move from ah to awe, A-W-E, through that aha of recognizing it's all God. So are you ready to be a mystic? You know, we've got this light to shine. And I think her word in the reading was emulate. We emulate the mystics. I say we have to eliminate to emanate. So we eliminate these things from our lives, from the past, from this victimization, from the awfulizing and the pathologizing, to move to the yes. Yes, 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 it's all God, yes. So are you ready to say yes to being the mystic? Good, good. I'm ready to consider retraining my default position, and I invite you to do the same. That my default mechanism that starts out with the ah, and move it through the aha to the ah very quickly, because I'm quite certain that the end result is we can all rest in the final ah. So you can do it, I can do it, we can all do it. Spread the Karuna Virus and have an awesome and wonderful day. Namaste.
moment to just settle in, feel the shift from the to the to the knowing that God is in and through each and every person here, each and every aspect of our lives, each and every person who watches us online, all of those whose lives we touch, and everything that we touch is God expressing in some way, in some form, in this world and in this universe. And as we allow ourselves to go, aha, in that awareness, feel our deep connection with Spirit. Feel it. Feel that we are on a spot of light in this great universe. We allow ourselves to bring that aha into the world with us, allowing ourselves to be in awe of all that is, and infecting others with that same sense of awe. What a beautiful message. I give great thanks for Peggy and her words, her awarenesses, knowing that we are all one with this amazing expression of Spirit, and knowing that that awareness moves in through us now as we carry it into the world. With gratitude, I release these words as we say together. So it is.
So it is.
This is called A Touch of Gold.
want to also, at this time, lift up anyone who is experiencing the symptoms, like Randy at home. We just lift him up, and anyone else in our congregation and in this community and beyond. And we just see that truth and that connection that we all have with Spirit. If you can shift maybe into the awe, as Peggy said, of how this thing is working, and just to hold that greater light for everyone in our community right now. Thank you again, Peggy, for your words. So the touch of gold that moves through us is also that 10% that we give out and back to our community. And this month we are giving to the Oak Street Veterans Apartments, which are a supportive community and resource bridge housing 22 formerly homeless veterans under the management of the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope. And they have many needs as they navigate their life moving into an independent living situation at the complex. And so they give them basic items such as food, clothing, blankets, sheets, towels, personal hygiene, and cleaning supplies. And so 10% of all that's coming through the center this month is going to support them in that process and to support the veterans that are moving into this apartment building. So we're grateful to be of service in that way. And please know that our tithe committee is always open to other ideas. If you have places in our community that you would like to see the 10% go, please speak to our tithing committee people. I know Nancy Walzak is one, and you're on the committee meeting, or tell a board member and we can share it with the committee, because we're always seeking ways to be of service and to bring part of what comes here to share that out back into our community. I feel blessed, I hope you do, so please repeat after me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God in me. And so it is. So we will sing, let Marilyn play, I Am So Blessed. Stepping up for Randy today. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Marilyn, for being here and providing us with music. Thank you, Peggy, again for your words and sharing, and thank you to each one of you for being present. Let's take that little spark of light out into the world this week. And please remember that the practitioners are blessed whenever you ask them to pray with you, whether you call them during the week or whether you take a short treatment from them. Today I want to thank our practitioners for being in service as well. Thank you so much. Let's stand and just send that energy around the room as we sing our closing song.
I'm here in peace. I stepped out in love.